All right, so we're joined by Taylor Weatherspoon, attorney with McGlinchey Stafford here in Jackson. We thank you so much for joining us. I got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson, including some of our friends from Shirley Simmons Middle School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. This is our business law class, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Hi, Greg. You kind of went out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I muted it because I had to say something to somebody else in the room. But you're
Okay,
good.
gotcha. Okay.
Now, before we get into what all it is you do, because there's several types of attorneys, and we've had several attorneys um, in the last few weeks. You are originally from Pike County, South
Yes,
Pike High School, you know, small town area, and then went to Tougaloo College and then the University of Mississippi Law School. So just take us through that path because I think a lot of people don't understand all the great things that Tougaloo has to offer, being a great HBCU, and then obviously that transition to Ole Miss up there in Oxford for law school.
yes. So, as you stated, I am originally from Magnolia, Mississippi, small town, in South Mississippi. Um, Grew up there all of my life, and so throughout high school, just a background. My mom was a stickler for education, and so throughout that time, I just made sure that I took it seriously. Took, of course, all of the courses, and during that time, had an idea of what my interests were, but of course, during that time, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in life. And so just making sure that I took those courses as I continued through high school, we had the opportunities to take dual enrollment courses. And so I was able to participate in that and get some experience in public speaking and just other courses. And also during that time, like I said, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I became a rural medical scholar. And so that was the summer of my junior year going into my senior year. And so I was able to go to Mississippi State for the summer, take science classes and things of that nature because I thought that I was going to be an OBGYN. And so I was able to, of course, go and get the college credits that afforded me the ability to be able to be a little bit early in my college career as far as college credits go. But during the rural medical scholar program, I think I decided, hey, I'm not that big on science. I mean, it was good, and I was able to take psychology courses and things of that nature. But my trajectory, as far as my career choice, it sort of changed. And so I say all of that to say, in high school, you may not know exactly what it is that you want to do, but I learned the lesson that even not knowing what you want to do and crossing some things out and going through that process of elimination can kind of steer you towards your interests that may, be able to be better developed in college. And
Yeah,
so,
and before we get to that, I do want to mention one thing. We do have the opportunity for our students to take dual enrollment as seniors. That's
yes,
everybody in our district, no matter what school they're at, so they can go in. We've had several students graduate from community college in 1 year because they had
oh,
so much
yes,
dual enrollment. And that is such a great point too, because everybody thinks I want to be XYZ because of the money, but then when they start learning what it takes to get into it, they change their mind, which is fine. That's why
yes,
we do things like this. Learn what it's required to be in your career, and I
yes.
think it helps you make a better decision. So you after that, you did go to Tougaloo, and we want to hear about that as well.
So I started, and I knew that I didn't want to go the doctor route anymore, but I started in the summer of 2017 doing Tougaloo's. It was their summer science program, and so I have a twin sister. My sister and I went up there, and I have an older sister that went to Tougaloo. My mom went to Tougaloo. My mom's older sister went to Tougaloo. So it was just kind of like a natural progression. But we went, did the summer science program, and I knew then I was always interested in history, and I wanted to take the political science course there, and I wanted to be a political science major. And so during that time, did this summer science program, but I started to research and got involved with the Reuben V. Anderson pre-law program at Tougaloo. And during that time, I believe Timothy Howard was the pre-law director, and so became acquainted, became a scholar, and it just put me on the trajectory of the law school stuff. And so during that time at Tougaloo, I was able to take pre-law courses, legal research and writing during my first year. And because of dual enrollment, I was almost like a semester ahead when
Wow.
I came to Tougaloo. And so it is important, the dual enrollment, and I encourage anyone that has the opportunity to take advantage of it because I mean, there's no rush through college, but you're able to also hone in on your interest a little bit earlier throughout the process. Yes.
And
And
save money.
and save money. Yes, that is true. And so yes, I was a part of the Reuben B. Anderson Scholar Program, and they just equipped me through those courses and a lot of networking dinners to just put me in the space of being a attorney and also just honing my skills on the way that a lawyer is supposed to think. And so I just got on the track that I was going to go to law school. And while I was at Tougaloo, I was a political science major, but I also minored in pre-law. So I was able to hone in on both of my interests. And during that time, I did some research programs. I mean, I did some research for programs over the summer and got involved in what the LSAC calls the Discover Law programs. And so they were geared towards diversity and helping students that may not have had the resources to get a summer worth of legal courses and LSAT prep and things of that nature. And so my sophomore year, well, I graduated because of the dual enrollment program. I graduated from Tougaloo in 3 years. And
Wow.
so between my first year and my second year, I was able to go to Buffalo, New York and participate in their Discover Law program for
Wow.
about 4 or 5 weeks. And during
Wow.
that time, we took first year law school courses, networking dinners, and just various things that kind of give you an idea of what law school is going to be like. And also, the year after that, I did another program with the University of Houston Law Center. And at that one, we took the first year law school courses as well. But in the second half of the summer, they also placed you in internships. And so I was able to work with
Wow.
the Harris County government, Harris County out. It was the Harris County's office, and I was able to intern there and get some actual legal experience. And even through that internship and also networking with the other professionals that some other scholars were assigned to, you just kind of get a grasp of what is it that I might be interested in practicing when I go to law school and also when I get out. And it just makes you a little bit more familiar with the practice area. So my time at Tougaloo, it was great. They helped develop my professional skills, and it's a smaller school, and so it definitely felt more like a family atmosphere. I mean, my connections there have followed me throughout my career. There are people that I can lean on even when it comes to a letter recommendation. So my advice would be is to network as much as you can there, make your connections and continue to foster them even when you leave Tougaloo or any other school that you may go to.
Yeah, and then I want to get into your Ole Miss law experience, but I want to talk about Tougaloo real quick because obviously they're a small HBCU, and we have a lot of kids that want to do the HBCU experience. Jackson State is great, Alcorn is great. There's so many great HBCUs, not only in Mississippi but in the South. But you need to go to the HBCU for the right reason. You need to
Yeah,
go somewhere that's going to foster your growth and career. You can have the HBCU experience at Tougaloo, but the amount of one-on-one help you can get. Our good friend Dr. Deontay Benford and his Student Success Center there at Tougaloo does a wonderful job helping people adjust to college. And
yes,
even though Tougaloo doesn't have the football and everything, they have so many great traditions, so many great academic programs. And like you said, it's a smaller school. You're going to get that attention that you may need in your learning environment. Same thing,
yes,
a place like Mississippi College, another great pre-law program that is a smaller school. So nothing against our big state universities, nothing against our big HBCUs, but I really encourage everybody as they start making decisions for college, really look at some of these smaller schools, especially if you want to go into law or any type of business, because you'll get that one-on-one networking experience that is so vital to build your network coming out of college.
Yeah.
So then you went to Ole Miss Law School up in Oxford.
Yes. Like I said, I graduated college a year early, and so I went to Ole Miss Law in 2020. And of course, that was the year of COVID. And so my first year, I was hybrid. Well, not even hybrid. I was completely remote, didn't attend any in-person classes. But that first year is geared towards you just getting your foundations and all of the like foundational courses. And like I've said previously, I got a glimpse of those when I went to the Discover Law programs throughout the summers and at Tougaloo. And so during that first year with COVID, it was a little different than anybody else had experienced. We had a law school education that was completely remote. But throughout the second and third year, I'll say law school is geared towards your critical analysis and it teaches you a different way of comprehending things and thinking. And so during that time, it trains you to think like a lawyer and you analyze things a little bit differently and you write a little differently, you research differently. And so throughout that first year, you're kind of just getting your foundation and your basis. And then in your second year, you're kind of able to hone in on your interests, get a little bit more involved in the programs at school that they have, such as negotiation boards or mock trial or things of that nature, and also some areas of law that you have an interest in. And then in your third year, you're doing the same thing, but you're thinking, I'm getting ready for the bar exam. And so law school is just, I think, a continuous building upon your analysis skills, your writing skills, and it starts, especially for someone, I'm the first lawyer in my family. You start to think about what this life and career will be like, and so it just kind of gets you prepared for the practice of law.
Yeah, and I think it's so important because like I think you're our fourth attorney that we've had in this class, and all of them have been different. Because look, when we think about law, especially with high school students, all we think about is the courtroom dramas, the law and orders, the all rise, Matlock, and all that stuff. And yeah, all that stuff does happen in a courtroom, just not on that dramatic of a scale. But that
Yeah.
is such a small part of what actually law encompasses. Because with what you do, you're not putting people in jail. Just because you meet with an attorney doesn't mean somebody's going to jail. And I do think it's interesting that the date we originally had scheduled for you to speak, I actually had to go to court and testify in a trial that
Yes.
did not involve anybody going to jail. It dealt with a civil matter. So it really is a large, large scale. And it's something I always say. Just because you're dealing with an attorney, you don't need to be scared. There are times in your life where you need an attorney to fight for your rights. There are times where you need an attorney to make sure all your paperwork is in line. So I know there at McGlinchey, you deal with a lot of manufacturers, you deal with a lot of financial institutions. So talk about the type of law that you focus on because it is not something we see on TV.
Yes, and so consumer finance litigation and some commercial litigation that I do, it is very different from what you typically see that is in the media or just commonly known as far as lawyers. So, like you said, I represent financial institutions and protecting their interests and making sure that they are um, being they are um, just making sure that they are adhering to the laws and regulations that are set in place. And so I represent financial institutions, and specifically if the kids have ever heard of My Mom Has a Mortgage, I represent those people that lend mortgages to people and auto manufacturers, just different things. And it's making sure that they conform to the laws that they have to adhere to. And I also, previous to the consumer finance litigation, I did personal injury work, which may be more commonly known to um, the students. And so if someone got in a car wreck and they say, hey, I think you caused it, I would represent those people. And you like you said, you come into contact with lawyers more than you think that you will, and it's not just for criminal matters. If you get in a car accident or if you have a business someday and someone says, hey, you fell on my property, you probably will have to retain a lawyer, or your insurance company will retain a lawyer. If you buy a house, you'll have a lawyer at the closing table. You just come into contact with them throughout the lifespan of your life, and it isn't always a negative thing. We're here to help you, and as much as we can, and protect the interest of our clients. And so, yes, criminal matters are not the focal point of my career. Sometimes it coincides with the civil matters, but I mean, yes, financial institutions, all of that can sometimes come into play. But yeah, that's my consumer finance background.
Yeah, and I just think it's so important to know, especially if somebody's going to open a business, you need to consult with an attorney to make sure all the licensing, all the paperwork is in place, make sure your business is registered correctly. You could be looking at paying a lot of taxes that you didn't know you were going to have to pay. So, I hear people say all the time, well, a lawyer's just going to bleed me of all my money. Well, if you don't meet with an attorney first and get your paperwork in line, you're going to be paying even more money. So it
Yes,
really is important to know that there's so many attorneys that are there to help. Um, and don't be the person that watches too much TV and think if you meet with an attorney, somebody's going to jail, because that is again just such a rare thing. Now, obviously, with it being Black History Month, it's important to talk about why we need more some young Black kids to think about getting into law,
oh
because
yes,
just like anything else, we need different faces and different perspectives in the field. And even though there has been a huge growing rise in Black attorneys in the last 10 years, it's still something that people need to maybe consider getting into, or even being a paralegal, because we need a lot of good paralegals in the legal field. So just talk about what some of these careers are and why they should consider at least looking into it for their future.
yes. I will always say that we need more Black attorneys because representation matters. Even if you're meeting with your clients, even with my uh, prior practice with the personal injury cases, when your client comes into the room and says, hey, it's someone that looks like me, sometimes the guard is just let down. And you're able to advocate in rooms that sometimes the others that cannot. And so I think that it is important for you always to be a representation. And I'm always going to advocate for people that are interested in the law to research it more, because we need more Black attorneys. And even with that, becoming representatives in your state legislature and advocating for the needs of your constituents, and helping out the communities that you came from. I mean, with a, a law degree, you can do a lot of things. You don't have to practice law to be able to you don't have to practice law to be able to be an influence in the community. And so just having that representation in all of these rooms, whether you're head of agencies, helping out people in your community, drafting wills, and making sure that more clientele comes to you, and making sure that their interests are protected in the community as well. And just being able to make a difference with your law degree is a big thing that I believe is critically needed in the country at this point.
Yeah, and then something that was shared with us by Judge Demetrius Hodges is there is a big need for court reporters. There's a big need for
Yeah.
court administrators. There's a big need for court clerks, law clerks. So it's not just you have to go to law school for 3 years, spend a lot of money, and become an attorney. There are all types of opportunities and all types of honestly needs in the
Yeah.
legal system for people to find great careers, and you really can make a difference in all these legal matters. And honestly, some of Judge Hodges mentioned you don't even need a degree to be a court reporter, and they can make some really good money.
Yes, I mean, and they are what keep court clerks, court reporters, they keep the practice of law going. We rely on them a lot. And so a law degree is not needed for you to be influential. But if you can get in those rooms and advocate for the clients, and just be there to be their voice, it is a great way to make a difference that I have found. And it has given me such satisfaction to be able to get a client that calls me after a case ends or is settled, and you get a thank you for helping me. And they always come back and thank you, but they may call you again to represent them in other matters, personal matters, just and you can always be a help, even if it's not the area of practice that you do. Sometimes your firm says, hey, if you have something to let us know about it and you can do it on the side, or we can help them in a way too. And you just never know the resources that you have that could make a difference in someone else's life.
Yeah, and that goes back to like you mentioned in college, learning to speak. And I think that's so important because this bunch I have in here with me, they get so mad when I make them present, but it's not to be mean. It's about doing business. It's about being professional. Little things like walking in a room and introducing yourself. Even if you don't want to be an attorney, that makes you a great business person. It makes you a great employee. It makes you an outstanding business owner. So, learning things like that in college is just as important as learning the content. And I'm so glad you mentioned that. And it's so important for our young people to realize that. Now, I do have some questions, and these are really good. I'm glad they're thinking about this. Um,
Okay.
this first one is Edward Flowers. He's in 10th grade. He's one of our band members here. And he asked, what are your favorite types of cases to handle?
I mean, because I've done multiple practices with doing some insurance defense, personal injury work, I've always liked the personal injury cases because I was able to interact with clients that you would just see in all walks of life and help them, talk to them. And sometimes they'll give you their life stories and you're able to make a connection with them. And a lot of times when people come to you, like you said, they kind of are scared and you're able to help them let their guard down and you just really feel like you're helping people. I'm new into the consumer finance practice, but I also like to figure out the issues. And so it's very document heavy. And I like being able to go through all of those documents and try to find that missing piece or that what sometimes people say smoking gun, that critical part of the case that you can investigate. And so I think the investigation part on my consumer finance litigation is my favorite part. And whether that is coming from the financial institutions or other matters that we deal with, is particularly interesting. But on the personal injury side, I also enjoyed speaking, helping my clients. It's good when they've given me a hug after everything is said and done with.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, as just real quick about the injuries. Obviously, we hear all the negative stereotypes of that, but a lot of times people will be injured and won't report it. So it's very
Yes,
important if you're ever injured on the job, especially. And I know that's not really workers' comp, but at the same time, if you're ever injured on the job, you need to make sure that you let somebody know, have that documented, so in case you need somebody to represent you, that you can be. I mean, even if it's just getting your medical bills paid.
yes,
Because a lot, I've actually heard people say, well, I don't want to just get rich off a lawsuit. I said, well, it's about taking care of yourself. It's,
that
you're not going to make an individual go broke. They have insurance that's going to pay for everything. You need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So I really encourage everybody to know that because we have a lot that are about to start working. They need to make sure that they are letting people know that. I like this one. This is
and
Kamani Wright. Oh, go
and
ahead.
I'll add into that, even if and there's a plaintiff side and there's a defense side that I'll be specific about. And also, if you ever get sued and you have a lawyer that is appointed to you through your insurance carrier, that we are there to help you as well. And that was primarily my practice. That was my practice in personal injury. And so being able to help those clients as well that are scared about being sued and judgments that may be coming against them, being able to protect their interest as well.
Yeah, I like this one. This is Kamani Wright. He's in ninth grade, one of our power lifters, and he asked, "Have you ever considered running for a judgeship?"
No, I have an aunt that told me one day that she sees me being a judge. So maybe she's put it out there, but I'm so early in my career that I haven't really considered it in depth, but I would consider it maybe later on.
Well, in a few weeks, they don't know it yet. We're having Shaquina McKenzie speaking here. I know
Okay, great.
she made
Thank you.
history down in Pike County as the youngest black female judge in the United States history. So she'll be
Yes.
speaking with this class in a few weeks. I got time for two more. This is Zayden Reed. She's in ninth grade, and I like this. She goes, "When was it What was it that you can point at that really changed your opinion about your college major?
That changed my opinion about my college major.
Your opinion to change your major.
Okay, I went in just knowing what I had an interest in. I always had an interest in history and politics, but I was leaning more on the politics side. And I thought that I wanted to be a doctor, but like I said, around my junior year of high school, that quickly changed. But I always knew what my interests were, and so I figured then that I would be probably going to law school, and I wanted my major to, and law school isn't like this anymore. You can major in anything going to law school,
Yep,
but I
that's
just
true.
kind of wanted to kind of be able to build up on that, even with my minor in pre-law, just making sure that I was ready to go to law school and kind of get my mind to thinking in that manner.
Absolutely. Well, I got time for one more, and I love this question. This is LaCridrick Harris. He's in ninth grade, and he asked, "What are some essential skills that someone needs to be successful in your area of law?"
Um, I would say having a attention to detail, making sure that you are thorough, and also your critical analysis will be key in financial litigation or in corporate law and in being a lawyer in general. And also your interpersonal skills are a big part of the law. It's not just what you can do on the cases, but you also have clients that you represent and that you need to make sure that you can communicate to. And being personable takes you a long way in client business, and just making sure that your communication stays open with opposing counsel. Nothing is as adversarial as maybe the media makes it seem. A lot of times your opposing counsel is your friend, and you'll get dinner or something with them after a case ends. And so making sure that you have a great reputation of keeping relationships, being kind, being nice, and being courteous, I feel like is one of the bigger things that comes into the practice of law, because you can always think law school is going to teach you that, and you'll be able to handle the law side pretty well, but it also is about maintaining relationships as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time, man. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today. But a couple things before we go. If anybody needs any legal questions or anything, how can they find you on McGlinchey website?
You can find me on the McGlinchey website. I also have my LinkedIn page, and my name is Taylor Weatherspoon. You can find me on there, and that is primarily my professional points of contact.
Awesome.
And so
Now, the last
if
thing. Oh, go ahead.
you'll just see my phone number and my email on there as well.
Awesome. Now, the last thing before we go, and obviously, like we mentioned, it's just it's no coincidence I asked you to do this during Black History Month. So, again, why should these kids, especially these young Black kids, or even we have a lot of first generation Americans in our district that are, the children of immigrants that have come to this country, and that are extremely intelligent, extreme, but maybe a little reserved about getting into the legal field because they haven't seen it before. So, why should
Yes.
these kids really consider getting into this legal field that desperately needs them?
Oh, because it is more than attainable and you're more than needed. Imposter syndrome is a real thing, but you are more than capable, more than educated enough. It is so possible and it's so necessary for you all to pursue professional careers, whether it be the legal career or anything else. And the representations matter. You are valued when you walk into the rooms. And your skill set will speak for itself, and the impact that it has on the communities and those that come after you is going to be, that's what's going to make it worthwhile. You, for me, I'm a first generation attorney, but it also has helped my family in a way that, I mean, they've helped me get here, and I've also been able to make a difference in their lives, and you help your family in legal matters as well, and being able to assist your community, and people go to you because that you're more familiar with them, you look like them, and you can connect more with them. And so the difference that you're able to make in your life and in others' lives is the most profound thing.
That's awesome. Well, again, we thank you so much for fitting this in your tight schedule, and also very appreciative of you being flexible on the date after we had to change. So we
Oh,
thank you
no.
so much for joining us, Taylor Weatherspoon, right there in Jackson, Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thanks, Greg.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye-bye.